Hello, we are here with you today and we have an extra special guest. Today we are going to be talking about the archetype Akasha, and this has been our newest project that we have started since I believe the 35 was in transit. I don't remember when that was, but the heroine was our very first archetype Akasha library that we started. And actually, this whole project was inspired by Corrinda, who we have with us today. And Corrinda is our Archetype Akasha Librarian. Corrinda has the 48, which we call the librarian in our 64 door archetype. We call that the librarian, and Corrinda happens to be an embodiment of that. And her goal or her mission in the archetype Akasha is to facilitate and allow people to gather together to share their stories and their lived wisdom. Corrinda, would you like to come in, introduce yourself, and just let us know, why is archetype Akasha important to you, and why did you want to start this?
Wow. Well, where do I start? Because there are so many reasons inside of me that really wanted to bring this alive. It is also my 45 in my radiance that wants to bring this together. And also all my throat activations, I have experienced that I just want to give voice to the people, because we all have a value, and all our archetypes that are working like a team in our body to have this life experience, they want to have a voice. And even all the archetypes have a different journey, because my 48 has, this role, but another person's 48 is a librarian in a whole nother way. And we can read about it, we can listen to the audios, we can listen to you, but when we hear each other's story, it really brings the archetype to like almost a movie. It's how does it play out in your country, the world, or the environment that you live in? How does it play out in your family? How does it play out in your work? It all has, in essence, the archetype has this gift and this potential, but how does it show up in the world? And when I think about movies, having the bad guy and the good guy, it's still a guy or a girl, but how it expresses itself in the movie can have a different flavor. And yeah, oh wow, now my mind gets stuck because I want to share so much. Okay. What's important to me too, with gathering together and sharing our stories, our lived experiences, and wisdom within that, the lessons that we have learned. Also in these times that we are now being separated all over the world and the globe, we can't be together. We have Zoom, we have this container in Unlock Your Design that we all can come together and share our voice and feel the love and feel that we are not alone, and that we don't have to do things alone. We've got each other's back when we listen to each other, when we support each other. Because the last archetype Akasha, there are always people that are longer on their journey and are more into the gift state, or already know what the archetype is telling them. But there are also people that are new onto that journey, and they're still searching. Am I doing it right? How does it express? And sometimes hearing other people's stories, they go like, oh, but I'm already doing that. And it gives like relief of I'm doing things right. And embracing even that the shadow is always a part of the journey, because shadow, we kind of want to make it a bad thing, the dark side or something, but it contains that gift, like Richard says. And when we embrace that part, that we've most always go from the shadow and then to the gift, that it's all a part of the journey, to go like, oh, there's a way out, maybe even. I'm still in the shadow, but there is a way out, So, yeah. And I feel like when we think back in history even, and the things that we find in religion and all those stories, gathering around with the fire, and then the ancient people sharing their stories with young adults and with children, and the knowledge that we bring on, and even the rituals and everything. I feel that too, that in the archetype Akasha, that we accumulate all these ancient new things, I almost want to say, I don't know, but it feels so important to gather together and to share our stories. It gives values to our journey and to our life's experience. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, and I mean, this works beautifully and in conjunction with the 64 Doors project that we're doing, because at Unlock Your Design, we see every human being as living archetypes. And so, like Corrinda said, you have that within you, and maybe you are exploring the shadow, maybe you're in the gift, maybe you're naturally already in that archetype, and like bringing that awareness just makes you feel like, oh man, I have permission to be myself. This is how I express myself. And so we're creating this unique library. It's a digital library full of lived wisdom. And we're wanting to create a multi-dimensional transmission filled with stories from people just like you. So like Corrinda said, she may have the 48 and she expresses it a certain way, or she experiences it a certain way, but somebody else may express it and experience it a different way. So the purpose of sharing the stories and the responsibility we all have to share our story is that we may be able to relate with somebody else, or maybe it's through our journey and determination and dedication on this path of self-mastery that maybe we're farther on than other people, and maybe somebody's in the thick of it. And so through the Archetype Akasha, everybody can find compassion for the journey. So maybe you got through the hard time and somebody else is in the thick of it, and you can give your story to help them have hope that there's a way out, or maybe they can give you a practical tool to get out of the muck. And it's through our shared stories of triumph, our shared stories of struggle, that we empower and support each other. And this is where we find our humanity. And as human beings, we're here to relate. We're here to communicate. And we're not here to keep all this stuff to ourselves. This isn't a competition where it's like, who can get to the finish line faster? Who can master faster? Who can self-actualize? It's like, we're not here to be by ourselves, living life by ourselves and doing things alone. We're here to share. We're here to have relationships. We're here to relate. And so this is a place to be a pioneer, where you're able to come in and share an experience, share your wisdom that's very unique to you. Nobody's going to have the same story as you. And I feel like everybody wants to be seen. Everybody wants to be heard. Everybody wants to be recognized. And so be recognized for your journey. Be recognized for the adventure that you're on. Be recognized and be heard. And allow people into you. We are all, walking home together. We're all walking each other home to our hearts. And we're here to share that heart space with each other. And I think that this is a beautiful opportunity to create a library. If you don't want to write your own book and you don't ever think that you're going to get anything on paper, the least you can do is share your story. And we do that every day in conversation with other people. But here we have the opportunity to actually record it so that it can be forever, so that other people can find it. Because when you're speaking it out, the only place it goes is into the actual like energetic Akasha. But if you aren't skilled at being an Akashic Records reader, how are you ever going to hear what somebody said 5 years ago? And now it's here, and it may be in the Akasha, but you don't know how to access it. Here, we're actually manifesting and bringing down the Akasha into the digital world so that this library can be accessed 5 years from now. And maybe somebody's going through something you have a story for. And so it's relatable, and it's forever, and it's a legacy. And so will you be part of our legacy in sharing your story, sharing your wisdom? And you may not realize that you have wisdom, but you do.
And I want to come in and say that this is not something that happens like behind closed doors. This is really open for everybody. So if you haven't heard about this before, now is the time. And Corrinda is inviting everybody in to be part of these conversations. And we do them on Zoom because we like to have containers that are safe and that we can moderate, but anybody can sign up for this. And there are also interviews with only one person as well that you're doing, Corrinda. on the back end. So it's an open invitation to everybody to be part of these. We're choosing, I think it's once a month that we have an archetype. Now, tomorrow, we're going to do the 9. There is also something that if you are feeling inspired and want to do a private interview with Corrinda, then you also get our Portals of Deconditioning course for that gene key or that archetype as a thank you. And I also think that there is a discount or something for people that are involved. So it's really one of those things that I feel like you, Corrinda, and me, especially being 4/6s, that these are the kind of things that we love doing. And I feel like with your help, Ashley, it's also where we have found a way of, of making it practical and do it inside of Unlock Your Design and do it once a month. So is there anything more that we want to, if people haven't heard this before, if this is the first time, is there anything more practical, like anything that people need to know if they want to be part of this in one way or another?
Yeah. So you have to register for the community call. So tomorrow we are going into the 9, like Bella said, the Mountaineer. We're going to be gathering around this archetype. Corrinda said that she has the 45 and the 45 likes to gather. It's good. It's the goodwill archetype. And so tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time, 1:30 Eastern, and then I believe it's 7:30 Central European time. That's when we're meeting. So it allows for everyone all around the world to join, and you will register for it, get a link, and then you can join us tomorrow inside the Zoom room, like Bella was saying, and you'll have the opportunity to share your story. We will be sending out an email tonight with some questions that will help prompt, and get you ready to share and reflect on maybe your experience with the 9. So we really invite people that have either the Mountaineer, or maybe you have the Mountain, which is the harmonic gate, or maybe you have the Enthusiast, which is the 16, which is the programming partner. So if you have any of these in your design, or maybe you want to come to just observe and witness, maybe your partner has this and you want to be involved in this, you can sign up for it as well. But this is an opportunity for you to share your story. So I posted in the comments a link to sign up for the Archetype Akasha for the 9. It has the date there. And then if you feel like you don't want to speak and you're not comfortable sharing your voice yet, you can write your story down. And we're going to start putting these written testimonials, these written stories in the Archetype Akasha. So this is where you're just going to share your story in the written form, and we'll take that, and with your permission, we're going to put it on in our library. So there's a couple different ways for you to participate in that and share your story, whether it's written or whether it's in the Zoom room in your voice, or like Bella mentioned, Corrinda is taking 3, I believe, interviews. So it's a limited amount of interviews. There is an application process, and Corrinda's going to pick, 3 people to interview. And yeah. Am I missing anything, Corrinda?
Well, if they don't want to share in a written way, and they don't want to speak in the Zoom container tomorrow, and they don't want to do an interview because that's maybe too close, they can create their own video and just start by Zoom. You can record it and then send it to us. And we can create a beautiful video out of it, because I like to make it beautiful. That's the Virgo in me. And so then you can just start your story anywhere and how you want to share, and still have it recorded. Sometimes vocalizing is an easier way than to write. I like to record more than I would like to write my own story. So that's why I introduced a blog. I believe it's called a vlog. Sorry, a blog is written, a vlog. So that's another option. Just create your own video and send it to us, and I match it with the Archetype Akasha looks. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized something, we're going through all the transits. So now we're in the 34 and we're going to be in the 9 soon. So that's why we are opening up the 9 for this. And I realized what we are doing in the course Portals of Deconditioning, where we are going through each and every transit, those calls, they are for deconditioning. And we come there, and sometimes we sit in the shadow, and sometimes we sit in the discomfort, and sometimes something is sparking. And with those calls, it's like, if you're there, they are transformative. But if you watch them after, you're like, what are these people doing? Maybe because it's a
Mhm.
process. So what I realized when I have been watching the recordings from the Akasha and the interviews, I'm like, this is so valuable. People can watch this 100 years from now, and they are going to get a sense about this archetype, about this gene key. So what you are creating for us, Corrinda, with this initiative, it's amazing because it's timeless and it's always, I mean, stories is the only thing that survive. Isn't it Richard that says children and stories? That's like what survive us. You know, that's what's left when we die. And I just think that this is an amazing example of just that. And yeah, it's valuable, and it never gets old.
It's building for the future, I feel. It's even for our children that are not known yet with this knowledge and this wisdom, and then somehow get a word of it and can go back to the oldies. How did they do it? You know, watch the replays and feel the value of that, of every voice. Yeah. And then have this space container. I do feel that when we are in the Zoom, like tomorrow will be, the energy kind of builds up with all these similar or maybe the fractal lines coming together with the 44 that the two of you have. We have this beautiful container always that feels safe to share and to be vulnerable, to be yourself. I really value the uniqueness that's inside of the Zoom containers of the Archetype Akasha, because even sometimes in other conversations, we try to look good. And I like it in the Archetype Akasha when we just state and speak out that we're not always look good and do the right thing, you know? Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, so if you are interested in joining us tomorrow, that link is in the comments. I also put a link for Black Friday. All of our Portals of Deconditioning courses that Bella mentioned, they're on sale 50% off. So if you're wanting to have, you know, a deeper dive into these archetypes, into embodiment, you can purchase these courses. They're 50% off until next Monday. And the code is there too with the link. So, I mean, if you are interested in this, but maybe you can't join tomorrow, but you want to be updated on Archetype Akasha for the other Zoom calls that we have, if you just sign up and subscribe to Archetype Akasha, you're going to get reminders of what we're doing, and you'll know beforehand when a new archetype is going to open up inside of the Akasha.
And actually, if they want a sneak peek of like what this is, I guess that you have uploaded on our YouTube the longer conversations. And I also think that they're like 2-minute snippets that you're creating, Corrinda. Are these also on YouTube, or are they more on Facebook? Where can
They're
people
on YouTube, but all the Akasha is inside of our website. So if you go to unlockyourdesign.com/archetype-akasha, and I'll put the link there. It's our Archetype Akasha. So it's going to have the full length community call in it. And then it's going to have the snippets of the one-on-one interviews that Corrinda does. Now, the one-on-one interviews that Corrinda does, where it's like an hour long with one person, those are inside the Portals of Deconditioning door. So the only way to have access to the entirety of that discussion is if you have the Portals of Deconditioning course. And we don't have community calls for every single archetype. It's once a month, and there's like 4 to 5 archetypes that go into transit each month. So we only pick one. Corrinda picks one, and then we have that. And so over the course of time, maybe we'll have a whole Archetype Akasha of these community calls. But for now, there's a selection. And inside the Archetype Akasha on our website, it lists all of the doors, the Archetype Akasha library that we have for each of them. So I think we have the 35, we have the 53, we have the 59, and we're going to have the 9. I don't know what I'm missing. I think we might have one more, but I'm not sure.
50?
The 50. Yeah. The Maestro. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And the intention is, like you said, Ashley, in the course of the time that we will have all the 64. And maybe now I do 3 interviews because I do have other things to do, and you too. But I feel like even in the course of time, other people will come in and would like to share. So then we have, for all the lines, we have one leftover, so to speak, you know. So we fill it up during the course of time. And maybe it even will show us how this archetype evolves over time, that it even expresses differently because time, our environment is changing, right? So I feel also value in that we are taking the time to build this for the future and for the now, of course. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So if you're interested in joining tomorrow, please sign up. And I hope that you are going to share your story and add to that wisdom. And Corrinda, we look forward to the rest of this project, however long it is, however long we're doing it for. But this feels like so much of a legacy. And I know that this is really good. And with the 9, if we're going to link it back to the Mountaineer, it's like little steps at a time. We're not like putting all the energy and effort and time into this where it's like, let's get it done as fast as possible. It's like every single day making a step towards the creation of this library. So we're determined to build out this library, and this is this legacy where others can watch other people's lived wisdom, which is super beautiful.
And I have the 952. So this is all the Archetype Akasha for me is my whole profile coming alive in so many little facets and things. All these little steps are an accumulation of all the things I have done before. And now this comes out, and determination here feels really deep because I don't know. It feels so deep inside of me. It really came out of my soul. And that's why determination is the small steps, feeling into my energy, feeling into which archetype each month wants to come through. And whoever wants to share comes. And then next year we'll see who wants to come next, And I'm in for the long run. So I'm hope to see all of you tomorrow also and hear your wisdom stories. And maybe you feel afterwards, you feel the drive and the passion to have a one-on-one conversation with me and go in depth about the archetype, the Mountaineer. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
Yes. And thank you, Corrinda, for joining us today. And thank you those who watched or that will be watching. And we hope to see you at some point inside the Archetype Akasha whenever you feel the call. I think your soul will know and be like, hey, it's time to share. It's time to share. So thank you so much.